Well, now to a conversation on the challenges Detroiters face in their everyday lives and what they want out of their next mayor. We're getting the results of a survey done by the University of Michigan in partnership with Outlier Media. Crime or safety tops the list, with nearly 18% of Detroiters saying it's one of the top 3 challenges faced by their households. That's followed by neighborhood conditions at over 16%, employment at 15%, housing at nearly 15%, and transportation at 14%. That was followed by school and getting the food they need. So joining us now to talk about the results, Orlando Bailey, the executive director of Outlier Media. Thank you so much for coming in, ma'am.
Thanks for having me, Nick.
I look at this survey and I see nothing in here that surprises me. Like, all this is kind of basic stuff that I think all Detroiters want, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we commission a survey, with the University of Michigan. We do it every single year for our information needs survey so that we can build our journalism around what Detroiters are saying that they need. And so between January and March, we surveyed over 2,000 residents. Outlier commissioned about 43 questions within the larger U of M survey. And what we found are the results that you guys just put on the screen. Crime and safety is of a huge concern, right? Transportation is a huge concern. We're also finding that trust in local government is a little shaky, and this is particularly interesting. In an election year, we want to know what candidates will have to say about that, but also neighborhood conditions, right? Blight, vacant lots. People want to see those vacant lots on their blocks with homes, right? They don't want just vacant lots. And so there's a lot of things that came up in the survey that we've been talking about all year.
Did you see any trends, anything from year to year that's going up or down?
Housing. Housing didn't make the top 3 concerns, but Outlier has been doing this information needs survey since our inception almost 10 years ago. Housing continues to be a top concern, and we're seeing things like eviction rates. People are afraid of eviction. Overinflated property assessments at one point that led to massive tax foreclosure. And people living in conditions who are renters, because the majority of the survey respondents were renters, about 43%.
Oh, really?
Who are living in substandard conditions, trying to get work orders answered by landlords and not having those work orders answered in a sufficient amount of time. And so we've been doing a lot of reporting on that, watchdog reporting.
So how do you then think that the results from this survey parlay into the race for Detroit's next mayor? Because it seems like a lot of these things are budget constrained versus policy, but some are just straight policy issues.
Some are budget, some are policy. I really do hope that the candidates are taking the results of this survey seriously. And I think if candidates are really on the ground like they say they are, they will begin to hear a lot of these same concerns from residents in neighborhoods, right? And so one of the things that continues to go round and round in my mind is this conversation about policy. Some of the things that need to be addressed within these surveys are a legislative policy, right? And so the mayor or the people who are gunning for mayor should have a legislative policy agenda. How are you going to lobby Lansing to move and act in favor of what Detroiters are saying that they need? One of the things that I'm thinking about is the transportation percentage, right? So transportation is an issue. What Detroiters are saying in the survey is that it just costs too much to own a car. And you want to know why it costs too much to own a car?
Insurance.
Automotive insurance, right? And so that is the Department of Insurance and Financial Services. That is a legislative move, right? And so the next mayor will have to have relationships in Lansing to move that agenda forward, right? Detroiters want things done around crime and safety. Some of that is budget, some of that is policy. Detroiters don't want to hear that what they want is illegal or against state law. They want you to go and figure out how to change state law.
How to fix it, right. What I find interesting is that I remember interviewing both candidates right after the primary, and there's a lot of buzzwords in their campaigns. In you know, I'll probably get some heat for this, but I don't see a lot.
I've been getting heat all election season.
I don't see a lot of teeth behind some of what we've discussed. Are you seeing that? Do you see actual policies yet?
Well, you know, what I want is for the candidates to sit down for rigorous conversations with journalists like you and I so that we can figure out where the teeth is behind what these plans that they are espousing are, right? And so I think on both websites we see plans around crime. We see plans around housing. We see plans around making sure that neighborhoods have all of the amenities that they need, but we're not seeing the how.
Right.
We don't know how this is going to be done. And that kind of exchange only happens if they sit down for rigorous conversation.
Yes, we can actually ask those questions.
Yes,
right.
We can ask those conversations.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, I want to talk to you more about the availability of these candidates, because I feel like they've disappeared after the last election.
Sure.
We'll talk about more when we come back. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. More now on our conversation about the top challenges facing Detroiters. Let's take a deeper look at the results of this new survey done by U of M in partnership with Outlier Media. We told you the top concern was crime and safety for Detroiters, who listed that as a challenge. Nearly half said greater police presence would make them feel safer. Just over 4.5% said they would like stronger gun control. A similar amount said better street lighting and fewer vacant properties. Nearly 4% said they would like to see more support for neighborhood associations and block clubs. So when it comes to the neighborhoods, people wanted better neighborhood maintenance, more consistent garbage cleanup and upkeep of streets, alleys and vacant lots, prevention for neighborhood dumping, and less blight. Here now, Orlando Bailey, again, the executive director of Outlier Media. A lot of these things here that we're talking about, these are policy issues, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, we have it in the budget to clean up the garbage. Now, the frequency and how often, though, that's when you start to lean on your contractors and your city workers, right?
And your community organizations who are incentivizing to clean up these lots and alleys as well.
Right. But all of these things are a quality of life issue.
Absolutely.
Right? And as Detroit continues to turn this corner and this resurgence keeps going, and we push harder to bring back the neighborhoods and not just the downtown core.
Yeah.
These are those good conversations, right? Because having streetlights is a big deal.
It
doesn't seem like it. Having consistent garbage pickup is a big deal,
Yes.
right? So how do we parlay that into conversations in City Hall that actually make a difference?
We are an urban metropolis, and so we want street lights.
Right.
We don't
Let me
wanna
see what's
drive
going
in
on.
the dark.
Right.
I want to see what's going on, and we want crime and safety down, right? And so one of the things about that crime and safety stat is we don't get into a lot of detail in the survey as to why folks are feeling like crime and safety is of top concern. And so we don't have any data on why or what's happening in neighborhoods that crime and safety is.
Which is an interesting conversation because sometimes people just say that's their top concern without saying that it's a problem.
Yeah.
Right? Those are two different issues.
And you want to know the other interesting piece of it is, that stat about the more police in neighborhoods. So more police in neighborhoods would help bring crime and safety down, right? The presence alone. You go downtown, you're tripping over police. You go in neighborhoods, you don't see a whole lot of police.
There's too many.
But you want to know the other interesting question that we asked. We asked the question about trust in the police department. And there's no widespread trust in the police department.
Really?
And so there's some interesting parallels, there's some interesting dynamics happening in the neighborhood side, right? I do think that, these kinds of conversation, these kind of stats should be a guidepost in City Hall when developing policy. Your budget is your moral document. It also tells you what is of priority to you. And that should match the priorities that residents are saying that they have.
Right. Okay, so everything we've talked about so far, everything that came out of your survey, all of that is, as you mentioned, what the candidates should be looking at and talking about.
Yeah.
The talking about portion, though, is where I question things because I haven't seen much talking since we had an election. Where'd everybody go?
I think the candidates have taken to the streets instead of coming into the news studios or the podcast studios or the newsrooms with us.
So it's me, it's not them. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I think that's what they would say.
Okay.
We are seeing a lot of campaigns on social media by both campaigns, by both candidates. Mary Sheffield has rolled out so many endorsements.
Right.
Solomon Kinlock is beefing up his social media presence, but they're not sitting down for rigorous conversation. And that is of concern to me, right? I think where we are able to sort of interrogate ideas within the marketplace for journalists to ask fact-based and research questions and get an answer, not a placation, right? Because what we also see is a lot of platforms platitudes, a lot of placating. We want real answers
Right.
and rigorous conversations.
Which goes back to your survey, right? These are the concerns.
Yes.
And you can tell me those are your concerns, but tell me your plan,
Tell me your plan
to fix those things.
and how.
And how.
How are you
Right.
going to pay for it?
Right.
How are you going to
Yeah.
lobby?
Where is that
against
in your budget?
Yep, and what is the relationship in D.C. going to look like, right? Because Mayor Mike Duggan had a lot of help from the Obama administration and the Biden administration. The Trump administration, we don't know if he's going to be so friendly. He hasn't been so friendly to Detroit.
Yeah.
And so that presents another challenge when we talk about an influx of dollars coming in from the federal level that we've been able to use, like from HUD or from the Transportation Department, right? We're not going to see those kinds of investments.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, Mary, producer Mary, she's telling me I'm out of time. I can talk to you for another hour, so we'll just keep booking you. Orlando, good to see you again. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nick.